to the post-match reaction to Argentina versus the Jaguares, and Good for the Game is already in the live chat saying how wonderful a performance it was for the Springboks, and it certainly was. They finished 13-46 to take a comfortable victory, and to win the Rugby Championship. Hi, I'm Paul, the guy behind DrivingMaul, your best place for rugby predictions and opinion, and to join me to discuss this game is Herman. How are you doing, sir?
Good evening, Paul, or good morning, New Zealand. I'm pretty fine, and I just may correct you. It wasn't the Jaguars who played tonight.
Oh, Paul. Sorry, the Pumas. Me. Yes, that was a Freudian slip. It was not done on purpose, seriously. So kicked off and it started good for the for the Pumas, with Sanchez making a good break. Then next phase, good chip over, and who was it? Cordero going over in the corner.
Yeah, it looked really nice. Looked good. Like, all right, thought maybe it's time. It's like we're timing. I don't know where we've been with those Pumas for at least over the last 2 weeks. But it looked like we're back on track. But nope.
No, it all sort of fell apart. I mean, South Africa weren't looking dangerous early, but they just weren't executing. There were too many passes were being dropped or going behind. Their execution was off pretty early on. But an area that the Argentinian sides have struggled with recently, or over the past few years, to be honest, kind of let them down and allowed South Africa to gain some dominance, and that was the scrum.
Yep. 6
penalties from their props this evening, and a lot of those ended up with kicks at posts, and that just let Pollard keep that scoreboard ticking over and put the box in front, and then open up a lead.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, I thought for like a short moment when we played with All Blacks that Puma scrum was maybe like taking tiny steps forward, but it's going backwards in every sense.
Yes. And even the ball if you look at the stats, it'll say that the Jaguar, that the Pumas won an awful most of their scrums probably, but the thing, what you don't get from that is that they were going backwards. It was very much back football. I don't think they ever had a stable scrum in this game, and that makes it very difficult to run any kind of first phase move off the back of that. Yeah. They did keep it close for the first kind of half hour. It was after half an hour it was 13-14. So the Pumas did keep in touch with both Pollard and Sanchez slotting their kicks, and Sanchez had a perfect evening with the boot. Pollard missed a couple in the end, but that didn't really kind of matter. He got a personal haul of 31 points. But on half time, this was really kind of the killer that opened things up and opened the gap. Was South Africa just going through the phases. They turned down an easy 3 just before half time, went to the corner instead, and eventually Pollard went over after the big boys had softened up and sucked in the defenders.
Yep. That was proper work from the Springboks pack there. They really opened it up for him in the end. But good work by Pollard too. He is very, very dangerous when he's attacking the line, though.
Yep, absolutely. We saw that later on as well.
He's probably best in the world together with Bowden Barrett at doing that.
But very different styles. We saw Bowden Barrett last night dancing through, whereas Pollard is a bigger guy who can, he'll still find a weak shoulder. Don't get me wrong, but he's got more power to get over that line. So 11-point lead at half time, and basically the Springboks didn't look back from that. They got themselves a silly penalty. Argentina didn't help themselves at the restart, which let. But then good defence by the Springboks, both by foul means and fair, which meant that the repeat penalties saw Faf de Klerk go to the bin, and the Pumas just couldn't take advantage of that 10 minutes. No points coming from them.
Was it was it like 2 times? It was like, how can we not score a try? We were like 3-on-1 with like huge amounts of space. Yeah.
They had their opportunities in this game. They just didn't take them.
They did.
And Pollard dived over his second try whilst Faf was still off the pitch. And with Faf off, the Springboks were very much hamstrung as to how they could play. Cheslin Colby, a wonderful player, but distributor from the base of a ruck, he is not. And so it was lots of one-out balls.
You're kind of hard now. Come on. I mean, I'm not saying he's world class being a scrum half, but I thought he did good.
I didn't do anything wrong, but you knew what was going to come. You knew it was going to be one-out rugby.
You're a hard judge, Paul.
Okay.
That's probably the hardest position you can go in and play in, you know.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is it restricted how the Springboks could play because he's not a natural there. They had to play one-out rugby. The Pumas knew what was coming, but they couldn't stop it. You weren't going to suddenly see it go spinning out wide and things. So anyway, I remember being overly harsh.
Come on, you can give him a little bit of props. Come on, he did all right.
He did fine. I guess what I'm trying to say is that Argentina didn't defend well then when they knew what was going to come. They could afford to defend narrowly because they knew it wasn't going to go spin wide, and yet they still let Mostert break through, get the important break that led to Pollard diving over. And at 13:32, it was. I mean, the game was well gone by that stage. Both sides over the next sort of 10 minutes or so had their opportunities, but the defences held strong. And then eventually South Africa added a couple of tries in the closing sort of 20 minutes to pull out. Obviously, by this stage, the Pumas were chasing the game, and that's what South Africa did really well here. Is they didn't let this become an arm wrestle. With Sanchez kicking, if Argentina kept it close, they would have been knocking over some of those penalties and keeping the scoreboard ticking over. But because South Africa managed to open that gap, they forced the Pumas to play, to chase the game, and to go for and not take those threes when they're on offer. And this could have descended into an arm wrestle if South Africa had let Argentina stay within touch, but they didn't, and that was very good for them, very good by them.
Yep.
So this kind of performance, Francois Stein, why he was brought back in, I didn't know, but I found out tonight. His hands are something magical. He had an amazing pickup for that last try that should have been a knock-on, but his hands were superb. Released Mapimpi to I think it was released Colby for that one out wide. But yeah, he has got some really soft hands, which was a delight to watch as well. Any other points about the actual game, or before we look forward to the rest of the year?
No, I mean, we have to say congratulations to the Springboks. They are Rugby Championship champions for the first time ever. Well done on them. And
which means clearly that they're now going to lose the Rugby World Cup.
Yeah, exactly. But yes, I thought maybe the scoreline was a tad bit too big. I didn't think Spring was that dominating, but it was a very solid performance by Springboks. It seems like they didn't play that well, but there is enough belief in what we're doing at the moment. So yeah, they're gonna troop on. They're gonna be very dangerous in the next couple of months.
Absolutely. I mean, this is I think this. If anyone had any doubts before this game, this puts the Springboks in that top category of people who are contending for this Rugby World Cup. A lot of people will think after the way that the Wallabies beat the All Blacks last night, that suddenly they're jumping up. It's like, well, yes, they put in a good performance last night, but they've not put in multiple ones. Whereas South Africa now have put in, showing not only showing good quality, but they're showing it consistently, drawing with the All Blacks last time out, beating the Wallabies before that as well. So they've gone and put together 3 good results. They've shown they can put back-to-back performances together, and they really are putting themselves in that in the discussion for the Rugby World Cup. So the Wallabies haven't done that. They've put one performance together. The All Blacks, people shouldn't be counting them out by any stretch of imagination. Yes, the gap has narrowed. Yes, this is going to be one of the most competitive Rugby World Cups we've had for 3 or 4 iterations. But they're still there, thereabouts. But South Africa really have put their name up there with it as well.
Yeah, I mean, the big takeaway from today is I think we can confirm now that All Blacks is back in the pack.
Yep, I think so.
They are. I mean, but you don't. I mean, the writings have been on the wall for a while now, but we've all been thinking like, nah, it's All Blacks. They will come good, and they can still come good. But at the moment, they are. There's no daylight between them and the rest anymore.
Simon says he's sick of this Rugby Championship curse thing and disrespectful to the competition. I think it's said more in jest than anything else, to be honest with you, Simon.
I have another stat for everyone there too, but if you want to counter that, but it also said like almost for most of the times, I think like for quite a few Lions Tour in the professional era, especially when the Lions Tour goes to South Africa, where South Africa is always world champions. They are.
So there you are. So South Africa have got to become world champions to be allowed to have the tour go ahead.
Yep.
With Ireland putting in a victory over Italy, I've not seen the game, I've just seen the score, which is 29-10. And with Wales, the England-Wales coming up in the early hours of New Zealand tomorrow morning. We're going to get start to get a feel for the Northern Hemisphere. Good for the game, says the Rugby World Cup is heading north. Well, as I say, we'll start to get an idea as to whether that could happen when we see how these teams are coming together over these next couple of weeks. I'm definitely not in a. I'm definitely not going to start putting that kind of thing out there. Could go north, yes, but is it definitely heading north? No, we're not in that. Let's hold fire on saying that just yet.
No, it's too early to say that. But
yep.
Yeah. Well, as you said before, it's going to be a very, very competitive World Cup, this one.
It is. So, thank you, Herman. I think that's probably, we've kind of knocked off. Actually, I guess a couple of things here that we should, some of the stats I'd say. You said it was quite an even game, and that it was from a stats point of view. And it was that scrum that lets South Africa pull ahead, because possession was slightly in Argentina's favour, but around about 55 odd. The number of clean breaks was similar. The defenders beaten was similar. Turnovers conceded, again, similar, 12 and 10. Tackling, Argentina at 76, the Springboks at 85. That's perhaps the one area that Argentina failed at was some of their first up tackling. Penalties conceded, 13 by Argentina, but 10 by the Springboks. It was pretty even. It wasn't a 30-odd point gap according to the stats. But it's a matter of where they lost those points and when they were, and when they built that lead, what that kind of meant. Because players Francois Lowe came on and gave up 3 penalties. Not his best performance by any stretch of the imagination. Unsurprisingly, not a lot of metres gained by any particular players, but Issa, a player that you said that Argentina needs to get back, 10 carries. Yeah, he's an important player for them going forwards, isn't he?
He is, but he hasn't really gelled with the team yet, I would say. Yep,
and he needs to. They need to get how to work each other out, because he did get through. He is one of their carrying threats. Kramer.
Yeah, but he's always the one who receives the ball on kickoffs and so on. So he usually get like lots of easy meters because he's a kick returner.
15 tackles by Kramer. He got through a lot of work there. What actually I was impressed by also was the fact that we had Mostert got some breaks. Etzbeth got a break. Obviously, Vermeulen always carries as well. So the way that South Africa mixed it up and used their heavy forwards to carry, as well as getting out wide to your Colbys, your Mapimpis, your LaRues, who we know can hurt people. But it's good to know that South Africa have got different options to make teams think about where it's going to go. And I think that's probably one of the big changes we've seen between last year and this year is that teams have to now think a lot more about how they're doing that. And part of that is the fact that the props now are taking on a lot of that. I mean, they both went on to 14, 15 tackles. They're taking some of the weight off the back players to allow them to get through that workload. Otherwise, you can't do it all. And so the props are getting around. There's that front row is getting around doing some work. Mentioned Francois Lowe didn't have so good a bench, but that was it really for me. Any last points?
No. Let's move on.
Cool. So thank you, everybody. I will now be heading over to Tauranga to watch Bay of Plenty versus Otago before doing post-match reaction to England versus Wales in the early hours tomorrow. So thank you, everybody. Have a great day and enjoy whatever you're watching because there is so much of it to watch right now.